This podcast is brought to you by Ram Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
I'm Gretchen Foles, and today I'm joined by Trevor, Debbie, and Kristen, and our guest today is Amanda Held. Amanda is an equine specialist, facilitator, lifelong equestrian, and veteran with 17 years combined service in the United States Air Force and the Air National Guard. She loves to help people shift their perception to life, to live a life of radical appreciation. Amanda's passion is to travel and teach the process she personally used to heal from PTSD. Her work benefits clients on both a personal and professional level and allows them to create a life full of passion, purpose, and inspiration. Amanda founded H.O.O.V.E.S, Healing of Our Veterans Equine Services, with a vision to reach out to other veterans and share her healing experience. Since founding her nonprofit in 2009, she has helped hundreds of veterans and their family members with healing from PTSD, grief, and reintegration struggles. She has also rescued and rehabilitated over 100 horses, 10 of which were wild mustangs. Amanda currently resides in Grand Rapids, Ohio, with her husband Justin, daughter Joelle, and son Trenton. Welcome, everyone.
Hey there.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, yesterday I talked to you, and you had something you had called me about, and so we thought we'd kind of start out talking about what sometimes you find in the barn. So,
oh gosh, well, my husband thought it was a diamond. It was actually a plastic button.
Okay, there you go. So you find things sometimes in the barn that you don't know are there. So would have been nice if it would have been a diamond.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Amanda, do you want to talk a little bit about H.O.O.V.E.S?
Sure, I would love to. Well, as my intro said, I founded H.O.O.V.E.S in 2009. In Grand Rapids, Ohio. In 2011, we became an official nonprofit. And I started out taking what worked for me and my healing journey. And a little bit of backstory, I had been diagnosed with PTSD while I was in the military, but it was not military related. It was from childhood. And it was one of those things that wasn't dealt with. And so it really incapacitated me, and I was at one point basically a non-functioning human. And I went through the traditional mental health system, and I tried everything, and it didn't work, and I was on medication, and I didn't feel, and I didn't want to live the rest of my life that way. So I set out on my own journey of healing, and I found my healing in horses, and I also learned some incredibly valuable, uncommonly taught techniques that was able to actually help me completely remove my diagnosis of PTSD. So today I'm 100% healed from that. I no longer have any symptoms, which is incredible. And when you're blessed in that way, the only way you can move forward is to help other people who are struggling find that same path. So that's what I did. And everything in my path has been divine. There's not one thing that hasn't. So I had purchased this farm with my dad in 2006. I wanted to go to Rolex. I wanted to be in the Olympics. I wanted to be a big fancy horse trainer.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the promise I made to God when I got that farm. I promised him I would use that farm to help people. And I was not doing that. I was helping myself. And oddly enough, things kind of just started to go awry. And I had to gut check myself and look at who I was serving. And so even though we had built a very successful business, we exploded over 6 months. We had 40 horses. I decided to take a different path, and that wasn't the way to go. And I asked everyone to leave, and I was standing in an empty barn.
Oh, wow.
With no income. And that's really when I feel like God spoke to me. And the very next day, I had been asked to go down to Cincinnati. I had a relationship with the Bureau of Land Management. They would do adoption fairs with the mustangs, and I would go down as a clinician and show people what to do when they got their horse home. And oddly enough, I was driving down, And I got a phone call from a guy named Rob, who I didn't know. I don't even know to this day how he got my phone number. And he said, hey, there's a horse that's going to be there. It's a sulfur spring Mustang, and anyone that knows anything about Mustangs knows that they're really desirable herd. Well, this lady's not picking it up. Could you just get the horse for me? Sure, no problem. I've always got the trailer in case I see something I like. And when I brought the horse back, he met me at the farm, and he said, well, I do equine-assisted psychotherapy. Because people had said, well, you should get into therapeutic riding, you know, you should do this, you should do that, and it just nothing spoke to me. So he starts telling me this is for people with emotional struggles, and as he's describing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's how I healed. And it was like the last piece of the puzzle. So within 2 weeks, I was on my way to get certified. I've been attending workshops and certifications for the past 10 years with EGALA, which is the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association. So they've been pivotal in my training. I've also been really blessed to work with some groundbreaking coaches and human behaviorists in stress and trauma coaching. So I started then just working with individuals one-on-one, and H.O.O.V.E.S became the nonprofit. We never accepted any money or did any fundraising because my dad just kind of supported everything.
Right.
And I felt like we had just gotten off the ground. And 2 days after Christmas in 2013, he had a heart attack and passed away in the barn. And what I thought at the time was crushing my entire life. He was my best friend. He was my business partner. You know, I wasn't able to keep the farm without him. Sent me on an even bigger path of healing and recovery, and I found a lot of challenge met with a lot of opportunity to expand my awareness and expand my ability to heal myself, and in turn help other people heal. And so from that, I barn hopped for several years, and it always felt like we were almost there, and then that led me here in October, moving into the Wilkins Road farm.
Nice.
So,
can you tell us a little bit about how the horses interact with the veterans?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we call it magic, but they say that the horse is a mirror to your soul, but to put a little bit of science behind it, horses can actually read our nonverbal cues at a magnified level. And if you think about walking down a hallway and running across someone and saying, oh, hey, how's your day? And the person turns back to you and they're like, it's good, I'm having a good day. Like, clearly they're not having a good day. If you magnify that times 100, that's what the horses can see in us. So they're reading a twitch of the ear, a blink of an eye. Everything is communication to them. And you're communicating. And then the horse is going to see the output of that, and they're going to respond back to you exactly how you're showing up. And to give you an example of that, in the very first 8-hour workshop I did, I had a group of 4 veterans. And just on a side note, there's always a theme. Everyone that shows up for each retreat, workshop, anything, it's always a theme. So they showed up, and I simply asked them to observe the horses and tell me what they saw. And as they were just standing there watching the horses, a horse that generally is a very loving, in-your-pocket type of mare, I swear, I always say she'd lay on the couch with you if you'd let her, started pacing the arena. And she started putting her ears back. And at one point, she was showing her teeth, and not even around anyone. And if you know horses, that's not common horse behavior because they're flight animals first.
Right.
And she wasn't being engaged. She was just being observed. And my colleague was like, oh, man, we got to get this horse out of the arena. This is, could be dangerous. And we're trained very well to avert any type of, potential safety issue. But I said, no. This has happened 3 times now. There's a pattern. Something's going on. This means something, especially because she was so out of character. So we always bring it back to the veterans. And I said, hey, what's going on, guys? Tell me about this horse. What's this horse doing? And the guy said, well, that horse is afraid. And I'm going, really? Doesn't look very afraid to me. So I'm like, okay. I said, tell me more. Why is the horse afraid? He said, well, the horse doesn't know us. It's in a different environment. It has no idea what's expected out of it. It doesn't know what it's supposed to do or how it's supposed to behave or how, it's going to be judged. And then he kind of like grabbed his chest and he was like, oh, that's me. That's how I feel. And my family thinks I'm angry and aggressive, but it's fear. I'm afraid. And so for him to just even admit that was tremendous. And then we were able to say, great. Well, you can't take fear out of your life, so we're not taking fear out of the arena today. Let's work through it. What do you think the horse needs right now? And he said, well, maybe if we could just harness it. And I said, okay, well. So he got one of the other veterans, and they worked together, and they put the halter on the horse, and it was like instant. The moment that halter was clipped, that horse was a different animal. And it became the bravest horse of the day, and it became the horse that led them through all the other exercises. And at the end of the day, we were able to say, okay, well, how can fear be a benefit to us? And they said, well, it kept us alive when we were deployed. It keeps our family safe. And, really when we harness it, it's not a bad thing. And that's what I've learned kind of through the horse, is that anything that we can harness won't hurt us or other people. And so that really became the theme for that retreat, was harnessing your fear.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Wow. And these people don't know anything about horses. They haven't been around them before, so they don't know anything really about the horses at all before
they really don't. And, every once in a while we'll get someone that does have experience. But I actually had, in our August retreat, I had someone go through that was a horse trainer and had been in the horse world all of her life. And by the end of those 3 days, she was scratching her head because she even though was a trainer, a very, she's a bronze medal, she's a very good trainer. When she went through these exercises, it's different. You're not in that leadership role. You're actually letting the horse be your guide and your teacher and give you feedback on where you're at in your life. And even simple tasks that she knew that she could do went differently because of the fashion that we were interacting with the animals.
And each time the horses are different with each person. You see the personality. Their personality is a little bit different with each person than the horse themselves, and how they react with the person.
Every time.
Pretty interesting.
I know all 18 of those horses like they were my children. Their likes, their dislikes, what they react to, what they don't react to. And I will tell you that in this work, they are always surprising me. I have one Mustang that I still keep, semi-wild. He's not been fully gentled. And, you really can't just approach him. And one day I had a young lady in there. She was a child of one of the veterans. And I had to get my clipboard. And I said, I'll be right back. You stand here. I ran into the lounge, grabbed my clipboard, came back. She was hanging on his neck.
Oh, wow.
He won't even let me do that.
Wow. Wow.
So, they will totally come out of character to be whatever they need to be for that person in that scene. And when I first started this work, there were times that I doubted or questioned the horses. And, when you're learning, you want to control the outcome for everyone because you can see where they need to go or where you think they need to go. And you want to guide them there, but that's not what this is about. It's not about leading someone. It's about holding that space. And my first mare, the one that started the whole thing, Mustang mare, this lady had something she had to overcome, and she was trying to get her on the other side of this pole. And my mare was so good. I'm like, aww. I know you know what you're supposed to be doing, and she would not go over. And I'm in the corner of the arena with my arms crossed, and I'm like, you just go over that jump for her. If she doesn't get that, she's going to leave here and feel horrible. And I swear to you that my mare stopped in her tracks and looked back at me and was like, stop it, Mom. I got this. And what ended up happening in that session changed the course of this lady's life. And if it would have went the way I wanted it to, that moment wouldn't have happened. So that was about 8 years ago, and from that moment I have never tried to control anything, any outcome in the arena. So we hold the space.
So how long does it take for is it different for each person, if it's like a PTSD that they've been through that's been really, really difficult for them, as opposed to maybe somebody who has like a milder case? I mean, does that take more or less time for each veteran, or are these just like a so many hour program that you have set up for them?
Well, everyone is different. We ask everyone to come in to the retreat, the 3-day retreat. That's how they enter the program. And so they come in on a Thursday night. Everyone just gets to know each other. S'mores is like our staple. Every retreat, we're trying to invent new s'mores. So if anyone has any ideas. And then Friday morning, I have we call the Teachables. So I spend 4 hours just teaching them the layout of how I recovered. And some people get in the arena in that first exercise and they're just reduced to tears because they have massive revelations. Wow. And some people break through on Saturday. Saturday is solely focused on addiction. So I've never seen anyone that came into the program that didn't struggle with some form of addiction. So we target that on Saturday, and sometimes that's where people have really big moments. And then there's always those people that hold on until Sunday morning. And, and again, in the beginning, I used to say, oh, what if someone doesn't break through? But it's never happened. We've never had anyone leave without their moment, and the horses make sure that happens. So sometimes it depends on the severity of the trauma while serving. Sometimes it's rooted in childhood stuff. Sometimes people are just not ready right away, comfort level. So there's a lot of factors. And we used to just do 1 day, 8-hour workshops, and we realized that was not enough time for people to process, because you will have a massive revelation. I've never seen anyone not have something big shown to them. And so we wanted to make sure that they were in a safe place to process that before we sent them back home.
It has to be so rewarding. You have to feel so good when you see people reach those moments, I'm sure. And probably those around them too probably realize it and recognize it, and I'm sure it's so rewarding.
It is. I can't not do it. I've tried to not do this. I've tried to walk away because it has been hard, and we're a nonprofit, and there's been my days where I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. But every time I've wanted to stop or quit or walk away, someone reaches out. Oh, I just wanted to tell you that I got my husband back. And thank you. We know that it's H.O.O.V.E.S that did this for him. Or, I'm ready to shut down the operation, and then a donation check appears in the mailbox. So I'm way past giving up at this point. Yeah. But it is rewarding just to follow all the families, and once they get through the retreat, they're invited back monthly. We do a service project. So we're really trying to educate the community on why veterans are important and how beneficial they are. So we get together once a month, and we've made sandwiches for the homeless, or we did a Empty Bowls fundraiser where we made pottery to be auctioned off. Next week we're going to do Toys for Tots. We're going to bag up the toys. So the second step of healing is serving. And so what happens is when these men and women come through the retreat and they get their healing, and then they want to go and help others and serve as well. So we're really about the ripple effect.
Wow. And do you know about how many veterans have gone through your program so far, approximately, or an idea of how many?
So it's been about 300 veterans and family members combined in the time that we've started. And so this is our first year doing the 3-day retreats, and we have 38 veterans that have done a retreat.
And you said they do come back monthly. Or they come back to?
They do. Some do, some don't. Some of our veterans are from other areas. Yeah. So as far as Florida, and even we have 2 veterans that came from Canada. So we're trying to kind of expand, again, with new needs comes new ideas. But the people that are local in the community, maybe they won't come back for 2 or 3 months, but then maybe something else will happen and they'll just need a refresher or they'll have a new challenge. I always tell everyone, you're not going to leave and never have a problem again. Right. You're just going to know how to deal with them differently. But sometimes if it's big and they need some support, so we have that. We have the online community, and then we have the service community. And then we also treat the whole family. So not only do the veterans get to come through, but it's important for us that the spouses heal as well, because they're usually the ones that carry the burden. And so when we send the veteran home, the spouse is like, why do you get to be happy? I've had to deal with you for the past 10 years. And obviously there's effects to the children as well. So we don't take the kids overnight, but we have day workshops for the children. And then we do a lot of family stuff. So it's a whole family program.
What would you say is your biggest success story?
Oh, gosh. My biggest success story would be the Pickett family. And Alyssa reached out to me. Actually, we were joking the other day. It's been, it was 2 years in October. And she had walked into the den to find her husband with a .45 in his mouth, ready to pull the trigger. And 4 or 5 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He served, and then he went back as security for another, I think, 9 years. So, he was at the end of his rope, and with all of the common, I was strong enough to fight a war, I should be strong enough to get better. And he came to the end of his rope, and she walked in, and she knew at that point that he had to get better. She had to find something, and he wasn't willing to seek regular treatment. So what I always like to say, she duped him into coming down. She called me. I said, hey, come down. I'll put you up in a bed and breakfast. We'll come work with the horses. This was before the retreats, we had just started the workshops and didn't want to do any group work. So I said, just come here. So she told him that they were just going to stay at a bed and breakfast. And then when they got here, she said, by the way, I signed you up for this horse thing. And he was pretty upset. So the first time I met Ryan, he was a little intimidating. He's a very big guy, and he was very shut down. And it was funny because I use a variety of horses. So we have everything from minis to Clydesdales.
I wondered about your minis, too. Yeah, you have to tell us that after this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he really wanted one of the big horses to get him his breakthrough, and he wasn't paying much mind to the mini horse. And after just a 4-hour introductory session, that miniature horse got him his breakthrough. We still tease him.
Oh my goodness, really?
We still tease him.
That's cute.
But yeah, so he, their family was incredibly broken. Alyssa didn't know if she could keep going, with the relationship, and he didn't know if he was going to be alive. And they were really the epitome of people who are ready to do the work. And so just that 4 hours created a massive shift in him. And then he couldn't wait for the next one and couldn't wait for the next one. And he came all year to every workshop, and sometimes begrudgingly, but he came. And then finally in October of 2017, we did our first 3-day retreat. And that was that was the icing on the cake for him. That was where he had a massive transformation. So they actually put their house on the market in July. They're from St. Clair, Michigan, 2.5 hours away, and they just moved here to join the team. So
that's really cool.
He's my ambassador now.
Wow.
And there's many more. We had a guy show up homeless with a backpack, addiction issues, and from that first workshop, he was so shut down he couldn't participate in the first 3 exercises. We were like, just sit. And he finally got up, and one of my mustangs, Ellie, got him his breakthrough. And he's been sober for going on 3 years. He hasn't held a job, and he has a place to live, and now he's pursuing his dream as a race car driver.
Wow.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Could you tell us a bit about your horses?
Yes, I would love to tell you about my horses.
How many do you have?
There's 18 of them.
Just 18?
Some people call it a problem. I call it a passion. We have 2 Clydesdales, 2 Percherons, a thoroughbred, a saddlebred quarter horse, a Tennessee Walker, 5 Mustangs, 5 minis, a mini donkey, and a mini cow. And we're done. For the near future.
To remember all of that.
Yeah, they're kind of like my kids. I probably know too much about all of them. But, we have Cobra, who is a Mustang, who's actually the Sulphur Springs Mustang that I was supposed to get for that guy. That guy ended up actually getting cancer and not taking him. He's recovered now and back to serving, but somehow I ended up with this horse begrudgingly because I did not want another horse. And as a result of that, he sat wild, and I presume he has some trauma from his roundup because I've worked with a lot of wild horses, and he definitely had some extra trust issues, which happens to be perfect for the program because those people really having major anxiety, trust, defiance, like, you really have to work to gain his trust. But when you do, it's one of the greatest accomplishments. So we've kind of left him as is, we can get him trimmed, we can get his shots and get his teeth done. And other than that, if you're totally right with yourself, he will approach you. And so he does a lot of work. But before he was gelded, he jumped the fence and he bred my Mustang mare, Shelby. And I didn't know until about 3 weeks before she foaled that she was even pregnant because she was just always pleasantly plump. And so we got, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So Cobra is the dad, Shelby is the mom, and we had to name the baby Eleanor.
Oh, cool. That's cute. That's great.
So they all have car names except the one. His name's Cash. But so we have an actual real family of horses, and then we have another rescue. He was saved off a slaughter truck out west. He was a reservation Mustang, and they're not protected under the law for slaughter. So we have him. So we have this like almost real little family, and so we have a lot of the families work with the family, and you wouldn't believe how these horses fall into character. It's unreal. We have an exercise called Moving Day where half the arena is home and half the arena is the deployed location, and you have to keep Cobra, the dad, you have to keep him down there, and you have to keep his family home, and then at the end they reintegrate the horses, and it's so powerful. But so he's cool, and I knew that Eleanor was just a really special gift. She started facilitating when she was 4 months old. Oh. And she's done a lot, and she's 7 now, which is hard to believe.
So do you pair, like, when you know of different veterans coming, do you think in your mind, oh, I'm going to have this horse there for this person?
Yes, sometimes. I'm always trying new avenues, but yes. So I know if somebody's dealing with a lot of apathy, I'll use Shelby. If someone has heavy grief, I'll use Molly. The anxiety, I use Cobra. So yes, there are certain horses that I know kind of have tendencies to be better for certain conditions, but one thing I started doing in the retreats over the summer is I have 3 pastures of 4, which works out great. We use 4 horses generally, of the full-size horses, and I let the people pick. So they'll come in, and I'll say, okay, tonight, we're just hanging out. I want you to look at all these pastures and get together, and you guys are going to pick the pasture that you're the most drawn to. So that's been a neat spin on things. But and sometimes I'll pick, and we actually had a group of older veterans. We had our oldest, she was a Vietnam veteran, 70 or 68 years old. And so we used the minis for them. And we use the minis for the kids as well. They are saints.
I bet that's cute. Yeah.
It's adorable. It absolutely is. And the donkey is the show stealer all the time. All the time. And it's interesting because one of the exercises we do is we ask the participants to be able to jump that represents a challenge in their life, and they have to get the horses to go over it. And I did the workshop with my youngest group ever. The youngest in there was 3, the oldest was 8, and I just did the same exercise. I said, hey, I want you guys to build a jump and get the little ponies over it. Well, I swear to you, no sooner did they get that jump built, the donkey on his own accord just over and over and over, like 5 times. I was trying to pull my camera out because I'm like, no one's going to believe
that
me.
happen?
It was such a great metaphor for the mind of children. They don't see barriers, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm thinking about all the adults that have been so frustrated.
How cute.
So it is. So, it even shows up in the children. The horses are very, very different with the children.
Could you tell us about your goals for this next year?
Yes, we actually have some really big goals. 2018 was a dynamite year. We set a lot of records as far as how many people we've helped. We held 8 retreats this year, and it's just been amazing. And now we're in this beautiful farm, thanks to you, Debbie, and we're just blessed beyond measure. The farm has been a game changer, actually, because now everyone's in a house. They can make better connections, and so we are actually doing a capital campaign for the purchase of the farm. I also have someone that's willing to build us an arena. So our goal in 2019 is to have a heated indoor arena, because right now we shut down in October and we don't open till April. And there's nothing more sickening to me than getting a call from a veteran in crisis and saying, well, you can come out and I can work with you one-on-one, but knowing that nothing is going to compare to these retreats. Right. So I'm really confident. We have a lot of phenomenal community partners, a lot of people that have seen now firsthand what this program can do for veterans. So we also want to add, we did 1 spouses retreat last year. We'd like to have 2 this year. We're expanding an addiction program, if that's a specific focus for people. And we're really going to just try to welcome and embrace the community. We want people out there. We want people to know about what we're doing. And
that's nice.
And being involved.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on our show, Amanda. You can find Hooves at, can you say your website?
Yep, www.H.O.O.V.E.S.
And then you can also follow them on social media at Hooves for Vets. Next, we're going to have our canter banter, but first we're going to have a short break.
Our next segment, Canter Banter, is brought to you by Ram Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
And we're back. Today on our Canter Banter discussion, we will be talking about weekend trail riding. I'm joined with Amanda, Debbie, Kristen, and Trevor. Hi, guys.
Gretchen. Hey, Gretchen. So there's nothing better than weekend trail riding or trail riding, period. So, and I think what's wonderful is where we're located, though we're in Swanton, Ohio. We have one of the nicest parks, metro parks, that are in our area, Oak Openings. And I think there's something like
13,000?
Somewhere around
14,000?
trails. I don't know how many, but lots of trails. And so it's one of the most diverse parks around. It's like Oak Openings is one of the top 10 metro parks in the United States because it's so diverse, from like sand dunes to pines to even some little trappy kind of damp areas, that type of thing, but it's a beautiful park. And so we love to ride through the park. The trails are wonderful. It's so good for the horses. I think especially horses that have definitely been like in maybe a routine where they've been in a barn or they've been working hard for showing, that type of thing. I think it's so good for a horse to get out and just be a horse and take trail rides. So
were you saying 1,300
I was saying
miles.
14,000 acres.
Acres, miles. I didn't know what we were
I
talking
don't know the miles.
She said
Yeah.
trails, and I
Yeah, no, sorry. No.
Yeah, and it's
Beautiful,
what
isn't it?
for
So
all
diverse.
4 ecosystems join. Just it's an incredible ride.
Some of the last prairie grasses in the United States are there. You won't see them any other place. So it's pretty diverse. But have you had a chance to really get out and ride on the trails then, Amanda, yet? Or not yet too much?
Not since I've been at the new place.
Okay.
But in my youth, when you're a kid, you have lots of time.
Yeah.
We used to go every weekend. But I did go out once, and it's absolutely a wonderful place. What's your favorite part?
Well, go ahead.
I would say we walked through the pines and the smell of the pines
Yes.
and the cleanest, freshest air. It is incredible.
It
And the
is.
peace. The deers will come, and there's just nothing like walking through that pine forest. And there's all the trees were planted or whatever, however
right
this
in a
was,
row.
that were right in a row. And so we actually have a lot of cool photography that goes on with
It's
that.
called The Spot,
The
in
Spot.
quotes. You can find it on Instagram.
The spot. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
My husband research it. He knows. I wish I had him here. He knows everything. He always educates me with these side pieces about oak openings all the time. Like, did you know?
Well, they just built those
the
tree
tree
houses, which is really cool. You can stay in them. So not only can you go riding, but you could also stay the night in a tree house.
Okay, I haven't been there in a good while, but now I'm I live down the street, but I'm gonna go check into their.
Don't miss out on our great,
Yeah.
the great, we have these great outdoors, and even up into Michigan. I mean, we have a lot of trails around here. We've got lots of friends that, trailer their horses. They do weekend trips. They do riding at night, and they've had a lot of fun doing those things. So
Even not because oak opening. I've been there before. I grew up around here, and it's nice. But even if you can't make it there, there's a lot of metro parks around this area. There's oak openings, and there's 2 more next to where I live.
we have the most gray days out of I think we are pretty close to Seattle at this point, I would think.
Feels
And
like
so
it.
to have those things to bring us joy is wonderful.
Yeah, but there's nothing any nicer, I think, than getting out with your horse. And I think at oak openings, too, that's so nice because they have picnic benches every so often and places where you can tie your horses. And we've actually gone and trailed and had taken a picnic lunch and stopped and
Yes,
had
you lunch when you
lunch.
ride.
Yes, I lunch whenever.
We should ride together.
I'll tell you, there's some, actually the people that went with me made better food than I did, though I did like them as well, too. So, but, and the stories that go along with it, of the park itself is pretty interesting, but, that's so nice. There's also the horseman's stop area or
yes.
whatever.
And they have a ramp to get back on your horse.
They do.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. And that makes it so nice to be able to get on at different places if you get off your horse or whatever the case may be. But I think, even for us, taking a hobby, and it's not really a hobby, but something that you love, you're so passionate about, and then turning it into a business, which I don't know if you find that too, though, Amanda, but then you don't get the time sometimes to do the things you love the most.
Absolutely.
So when you do get that opportunity, it is so nice to be able to just go out and ride out trail riding. It's so nice.
Mental health day.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys do in your downtime when there's not much to do outside and in the barn?
Oh, there's always something to do in the barn. There's always work. Every day is a work day. I think horsemen know that there's not one day out of the year that you don't have something to do.
Absolutely.
There's always something that needs to be picked up, cleaned up, put away. I don't know, whatever it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Cobwebs.
Do you want hobbies? What are other hobbies?
Yeah, I think that'd be nice.
So I do, my mom, I learned from her knitting, spinning, weaving. I have I need to do some of those things if, when we have the dark days and they're short days. Those are the things that I do.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other hobbies, Amanda? Or?
I just bought 2 kilns on Marketplace.
There you go.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, we had gone to a shop and painted mugs, and they fire them for you, and you go pick them up like a week later. But I'm really impatient, and I'm cheap, so I'm like, you know what? I can do this myself for less money and faster. Let's go get a kiln. So it's been good, and
nice.
Now I need like horse ceramic molds, so I can give them to my friends for Christmas.
There you go. What about you, Trevor?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is totally off topic, but I myself am a designer, so I like designing and building stuff. So my Legos.
Oh, yes, you do.
I do love my Legos, but also my vinyl records help me keep my peace. Just listening to them and listening to the cracks and the pops. I forget about if it's already dark at like 3.
What's the oldest record that you have? Do you know about?
I have one coming to me that is Prince. It's his Purple Rain, the original. So,
wow. Where do you find something like that?
One of my friends, his parents.
Wow.
Yep.
Ooh,
And
that's
they
gotta
wanted it, so
like you can't find that online.
Nope. No, you can buy like the reissue, which I have, but I was like, no, I want the original.
Absolutely.
That'll be nice.
How cool.
What about you, Gretchen?
Oh, I'm a coffee person, so you can usually find me at some coffee shop.
And what about you, Mom?
I like to do all sorts of things, whether it's spinning or weaving or trying to think of what else we've done.
You have your bees.
Sewing, embroidery, bees.
And she is great on social media, Instagram, Facebook. She's a picture taker and a storyteller, and to follow her is a fun.
Well, thank you.
Fun thing, yeah.
Thank you. It's fun to share with everybody. It's just nice to be able to do.
You tell stories.
I am a storyteller. I can tell a story, good story. Gretchen probably remembers some of those.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune in to the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at ram@ramfence.com or feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks again for listening.